Welcome to Gemstones and Whiskey, an Outlander podcast. I'm Ashley Alexandra.
And I'm Rena Ezra.
And this is our first episode.
It is. Oh my gosh.
So we are doing a watch-along format to this podcast. So essentially we're going to be playing the episode in the background and discussing any ideas or concepts that come up. You can certainly feel free to watch along with us if you would like. We will have the episode muted so you won't hear it in the background.
You'll just be hearing our lovely voices.
We will let you know when we are starting the episode. So for this particular episode, it's a cold open, which means the intro does not play first. So we'll be starting right up top. So you can press play with us in 1, 2, 3, go.
Just muting it. But that got us into the vibe. I have to say, though, the visual and the music and the costume is immediately what drew me into the show from the start.
Yeah. I think maybe it would be helpful to kind of explain how we each got into the episode.
Yeah,
absolutely. Into the series.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, you want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah, you go first. I
was actually recommended this show by my boyfriend's mom. Shout out Gigi. She's definitely going to be listening to this. Yeah, so then I started watching it and I could not stop. The first episode was a little bit slow for me in the beginning, but it quickly picked up second half. I just couldn't stop, of course, because it's steamy, but also the story, and then finding out that it's based off of a series of books.
Right.
So it was just enticing. I also love all the actors.
Yeah. I tried starting the series, I think 2 times, a few years apart, and I started the first episode and got about what I thought was halfway through, restarted the episode a couple years later, got what I thought was about halfway through, and for whatever reason it wasn't catching me, and then I ended up being sick with COVID, and I was like, all right, I need a series to binge that I don't have to pay attention to, and I was like, maybe I'll get some enjoyment out of it. I've heard it's pretty steamy. So I went into it with the expectation of it just being this romancy, steamy series that probably didn't have a lot of quality to its plot.
Yeah, to be honest, I also thought the same thing.
So I was definitely really surprised at the quality, like you said, the costuming, the scenery, and then also the acting I thought was really solid, and also the casting was pretty spot on. Yeah,
I thought it was going to be fluff, and also 2 actors that I'm not familiar with, had not seen their work before, and they really don't have an acting resume. Yeah. One's a model, the actress who plays Claire, and then the actor who plays Jamie was about to give up acting, and then got this the audition, and then just blew through it, and I think everybody is very well paired, very well matched. Yeah. Do we want to say what just happened?
Yes.
Because we are obviously seeing what's going on the screen. Well, hurrah. I love how a woman just gives her a champagne bottle. She's like, drink up.
That's a great day in my mind.
Because it's 1945. It's the end of World War II. It was V-Day.
Yeah. Love drinking some champagne in a blood-stained apron.
Yeah. This show, another thing was it definitely got more gruesome than I thought it was gonna be.
Absolutely. I feel like the show definitely set up certain parameters, and then completely just pushed past them in certain episodes.
Yes.
I feel like voiceover is a polarizing tool. I think some people really like voiceover, some people don't. I notice there's a lot of voiceover, especially in this first season.
Yes.
And I think it's because the books are from Claire's perspective.
Yes.
So they don't want to lose that element, but it's a ton of voiceover.
It is. I mean, I do like that she's British. Could you imagine if it's a New Jersey girl?
Right. Yeah.
I went to Scotland.
Or Wisconsin. No hate.
That just makes me think of SNL. Your murder, your dirter, and
oh my gosh, so good, so good. Also, I've been watching The Mayor of Easttown. It's very good.
Ooh, yes, yeah. I finished that.
Yeah. Great.
Anyway, that's a different.
This is not a podcast about The Mayor of Easttown.
But just along with the things of voiceover, that I do love listening to her voice. But it is a lot. It's nice though that it changes the amount, or I guess the balance ranges from season to season.
Yes.
You definitely don't get a whole boat of narration every time. But again, I think it was essential in telling definitely certain parts of the story and a total insight into her psyche.
Yes.
Because it's like, what is she feeling at this point? What is she going through? How did she... Because can you imagine?
No, I mean, I've tried, and I don't like the results when I imagine what it would be like if I went back to the 1700s.
Yeah.
Not successful.
We will definitely dive into that throughout this podcast. We're definitely going to be trying to put ourselves in her shoes, and pair up our survival tactics, which come out to none. I don't know how to start.
Negative for me, I think, quite honestly. Question, because we just finished the opening credits on our side, and I feel like...
Which I love the music, by the way.
I love the music so much. And I love that... Oh, well, this might be a spoiler. All right, we'll save that for the end. But I have a question. Do you feel like you're someone who... Because obviously the opening credits have flashes of different scenes throughout the season.
Yes.
And are you someone who, like, has a keen eye for that? Because I am not. Like, I'm like... Wow, that was nice, and I don't remember a single shot that was in it, but I know other people that
I think because I do film with Brendan and Jordan with Late Night Hump, LNH Studios, and because we write and we try to produce and we're trying to just master our own craft and trying to always learn and whatever, I can't help myself. I try and force myself to not pay attention to that detail and to just enjoy movies like I used to when I was younger, but it's different now. Every time I look at a screen, I am looking at where a camera is placed. I'm looking at how somebody says something, where like the blocking, or I'm looking at the costume and the props, definitely, because they show a lot of props in the opening sequence, the introduction, opening credits, that are symbolic, and that like you look back and you're like, oh, this is foreshadowing this is foreshadowing that. So I do pay attention to it, and I kind of like I catalog it in my brain, and I'm just like, okay, this is definitely gonna come up later, or something's gonna happen, or I definitely like snooping around the picture just to see whatever else is in the room also, to because a lot is said.
Do you enjoy it, or do you feel like that's exhausting to like be able to see it through that lens, you know, or multiple lenses? Really? Yeah,
I part enjoy it, and I part get frustrated by it because it does take away from how someone just is supposed to interpret it or to digest the art.
Right.
You know, I just want to take it and be like, I don't want to think too much about it. That's the thing, right? Because then I'm spoiling it for myself. I am, and I do that because...
I don't think about it at all.
Good for you! Because when I watch movies or whatever, I already call out something that's going to happen because I already work out, I'm like, oh, if they were to write it this way, like, their alternate endings could be this, or that. And I'm like, darn it, Rena, like, don't do that to yourself. Like, because then I do ruin it for myself and I spoil it. But, anyway, you obviously like to just...
No, I'm the simpleton. I am along for the ride. I will look at what you want me to look at, and I will totally miss the things that you want me to
You're a perfect audience.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I like that spin on it. Thank you. I'm perfect. Say it again.
Yeah, you are perfect. Said it. Said it 10 more times.
I didn't realize that Tobias Menzies, who plays Frank, was in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
I was a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and for some reason, I thought his character in Game of Thrones was blonde. Like, someone mentioned it, and I was like, that's not the guy from Game of Thrones. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I went back and looked and was like, first of all, yeah, obviously it is Tobias. And second of all, the character that he plays doesn't even look the way I remember him looking at all. which is weird.
He's the other one you just made me think of that I saw him in recently was The Crown.
Yes, I haven't gotten to that season yet.
He's just, again, it's just such an appreciation for the cast in Outlander and also The Crown, but he's just a good, like, which people will know, not spoiling anything, but when you watch the show further and you see what the actors have to do, he is exceptional. Because it's also just, which we will get to in this episode, but it's just very clever.
Yeah.
How.
I'm curious, did you see him in Outlander before you saw him in The Crown?
No, I saw The Crown first.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'll have questions in the spoiler section about that.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so that's the thing, because I'm watching him and I'm just like, oh my god, like obviously it's a completely different character, but this is fictional, and the other one is he's supposed to play a real person. And I'm just like, dang, nabbit, he's so good. He's so good. Which is also some things that do frustrate. So right now we are seeing that Claire and Frank have checked into their, what do you call it? Bed and breakfast?
Yeah, bed and breakfast, I would say, or an inn. Is that a thing?
Yes,
yeah,
an inn in Scotland, because they wanted this to be their second honeymoon, but basically because they haven't seen each other in 5 years.
Yeah, they both
served
in the war. Yeah,
yes,
different capacities.
Yes, Claire is a nurse. And he is... how did he serve in the war? He's a historian, I know.
No, he's also he was involved in interrogations, because that will come into play.
Yes.
Later in this
specific
specific
my god,
episode.
see, again, yeah. They just put so many things in here that circle back, and it's very satisfying.
Yeah. So I read... So I became very obsessed with the show very quickly, and I decided after I finished the series to get the books, and I was like, oh, I'm going to read all the books. Well, I read the first book, which kudos to me for actually finishing the first book. Yeah. I have not moved on. I bought 4 books at, like, the 4-book set.
So not rented, you actually
bought it. No, I bought it. Full on bought it, and, like... Anyway, read the first book, but I didn't realize there's supposed to be a thing about, like, Claire's supposed to have really wild hair. Like, it's supposed to be wild. And in my mind, I look at Claire's hair and I'm like, she has the perfect hair. I love it so much. She has the perfect curls.
She does.
It's so thick. I'm like, you have the hair of my dreams.
It's such a BS when they try and tousle it and make it look like a mess and dirty. And I'm just like, this looks good.
I'm like, it's the best.
I'm like, I wish I had curls that behaved the way they did. Also, you're in the 1940s, so you don't have the products I have. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I'm struggling, and yours is like, au natural, whatever.
Yes.
Whatever.
Also, I love that little look that the innkeeper just gave with the swinging chandelier, because she knows something's happening up in the room.
You can hear the bed squeak.
Love it. Like, yes.
Yeah.
I can't do convertibles, just going back to the hair conversation. Like, no. But imagine driving through Scotland, like, with the sun shining down on a perfect, like, quiet afternoon. Also, one thing to point out in the books, too, is that Claire is, like, kind of annoyed by Frank's knowledge of history and like the way he shares.
Yes, yeah.
And how often he talks about it. And that is going to become an interesting point. I don't think they really played that up in the show, though. Like, I think
it was more subtle.
In the book, she's like outwardly like,
I can't stand.
Like, please, I'm very tired of hearing about this. Like, I thought this was very interesting too, seeing like such a unique childhood growing up with her Uncle Lamb, who's an archeologist. Which, P.S., I wanted to be an archeologist as a kid.
Way.
Yeah, I think probably because I saw The Mummy when I was like 11. And
oh my god! If I'm in The Mummy, I get someone like Brandon Fraser too. No. Well, what made you? How come you didn't want to do it anymore?
Well, then I realized like it's not a real job. Like, it is. There are people that do it, but it's like
you don't get results for a while.
Well, and I don't think it's like a large field. like it's kind of niche, and I don't know what the job prospects are for that.
I see. Yes. Also, well, you have to do a lot of traveling to go to these crazy locations, and
I also wanted to be a spy, so you know, I varied
You still
interests.
could be. You still could be. Anything's possible. You're young. So there. Also, I do love the stone.
Yes.
Also, just how everything against literally just the vast amounts of grass in Scotland. It is very cool.
I had a trip to Ireland. So they're right now exploring Castle Leoch. And like the ruins of Castle Leoch. And I went to Ireland, and we kind of just like stumbled upon this abandoned abbey. Again, in the middle of nowhere, like these beautiful like grass fields, and this like kind of beautiful stone building in shambles with like moss growing on it and vines. Like it looked very much like this. And it was so beautiful. So I just want to say, like, if I was there with a man that I really liked in an abandoned stone building.
Yeah, I would also do it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, is that what we're getting at?
100%. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, good on you, Claire. Like, yes.
Yeah, I have to. Also, this is a specific bit in this scene because they already made love in the inn.
Yes.
And in here, he just services her.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, like obviously she is a progressive woman and dominant and like very positive with her body and like, but like not, I mean, she can be somewhat controlling, but like power move where it was just, it just exploring like the intimacy between Claire and Frank, because obviously that becomes tested and things change. And yeah, it was just, there already in this first episode, there's probably so much sex in different ranges, but
yes. So what's interesting is this specific scene is not in the books. They have a scene that happens in a different setting that kind of gives the same information.
Yeah, gotcha.
On their relationship and like the physical aspect of their relationship.
Yeah.
I send kudos to producers for making it happen in a castle.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, scouting locations must have been super fun with this. Because, like, a combination of it are sets, but also where they actually shot. And they had everybody part of the project who were actually in the UK.
Yeah. So the majority of their actors and staff are all, I think, UK for sure, but as many people from Scotland as they can get to.
Yeah. Which I think is wonderful.
Yes.
And also, just pointing out, because, obviously, if I hadn't seen my man in 5 years, of course I'm going to be horny. Like, of course I'm going to want to ravage, like, just rip his clothes off and do, like, everyone's going to want to embrace and just get, like, I hadn't seen him in 5 years, and I'm...
Yeah, I wouldn't have left the inn, I don't think.
You're right.
To be quite honest with you, I'd be like, let's do a staycation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Save the money.
Yeah. This is our 1940s Airbnb. Yeah. Like, what's the point of leaving? Like, we'll check it later. Yes. Like, we didn't. If they did that, maybe the show never would have happened, or the books, because certain things wouldn't have occurred.
Outcome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. See, look at this. Like, he does not hesitate.
Yeah.
He's all up in her business right now.
And I think this is the first moment that made me realize, like, oh, this show is portraying things differently than
the book?
No, than like the majority of stuff that's out there. Like, this show for sure is shot from the female gaze.
Yes.
And that's not often the case. And I feel like that scene in particular, just elements of like the choreography of how it went down. Yeah, little double entendre. I think made it very clear that it's written from Claire's perspective, which means that we're going to see things from a woman's perspective.
Which is another reason I just kept absorbing the show and stuck with it, because I feel like my interest or like getting lost in it would have been different, you know, maybe not like good or bad or whatever, if it was like a male protagonist, like if it was just a guy on his journey. But the fact that it is a woman who's in the 1940s, and then we're, you know, obviously people know we jump around in time, but it's like, it's the things that happen to her psychologically, physically, all that other stuff that we'll get into would have been entirely different, like as far as your security, as far as how safe you are, whatever, because you're a woman in a very different time.
Yeah.
Like society is not, this is not 2021, like,
right.
Which still we're struggling to get things across, but her treatment toward the protagonist would have been entirely different if it was a guy. And I also love how they didn't make her a damsel in distress.
Yes.
That was a major thing where I was just like, she's independent, she's confident, people might think she's a bitch, but she has to do this to survive. Like she has to do certain things, and she's also intelligent. She's not stupid.
So intelligent, like highly intelligent female lead.
Like I have a degree in biology. I don't think you know what I'm saying? Like I just don't think I'd be able to be like, oh, these plants and herbs are.
So I think it's a couple things, right? So like, yes, she's clearly intelligent and clever as well. Which is really important to the plot of the show for her to be clever, but she is also human, and there are the moments where you're watching and you're like, okay, come on, like you should have said this or you should have done that. So I like that it's a very real,
like honest,
human character, and also I feel like a lot of times women specifically are meant to play tropes. And I don't think that the character of Claire falls into any one box.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And yes, there's definitely something later in the episode I will talk about as far as, when you're talking about like certain decisions she make where I'm just like you could have done this a little different. Like, you could have. So we're at the bit now where Claire's palm is being read. And that was also just another thing. I'm such like, I definitely did this where when the scene came up, I looked at my hand. I was just like, what?
Yes, no, for sure. Okay, also I've had my palms read like multiple times.
Oh.
In my past.
And has this stuff come true?
No. I don't know. I mean, it's like, perhaps TBD, you know? These things are, there's still time for them to come true. Okay, the one thing they did say is, like, the, like, pad of my thumb, is that whatever, the heel? Is that the heel of your hand? I don't know.
Yeah, sure, I like that.
Is, like, very firm, and apparently that means I'm stubborn. But I think I think that's the one that she says you're very sexual.
Oh.
So I was like, well, I guess there is a connection.
You know, it is fascinating because the lines on your hands do change over time.
Yes.
And with like each section of like your fingers, where it's like how many kids you'll have, how many blah, 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 your fingerprints, and then like obviously the lines on your palm, where she was saying there's a fork.
Yes.
Lines.
Where usually it's a disconnect.
Yeah.
If it's like two separate relationships.
So that's why she was saying a lot of interesting things where it's just like you're going on a journey a distant far away, but you're staying put.
Yeah. This whole scene at the Reverend's house, so it's a kind of multiple scenes, I guess. So much setup in this section. So even the conversation that happened before she had her leaves read and her palm read, you know, they were talking about Frank's familial history, which is all going to come into play.
Yes.
So these
we can say who the character is because they mention him by name.
Right.
They find him, Jack Black.
Yes.
Jack, right? Is that Jack Black?
I don't. Wait. Jack Randall.
Yeah, no, but they gave him
Blackjack.
Oh my god.
So, spoiler alert, there's a cameo by Jack Black.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
But those are the scenes that I have such a hard time paying attention to, and their exposition, like, it's important. Important information, and I'm so bad. And yeah, this is a good point. So Frank's walking in the rain, and
with his trench coat and umbrella.
Yeah.
So yes, we do know Jack Randall. He served in the British Army, and he was in an important position. And then now he sees somebody look. Well, now Frank sees somebody looking up at Claire. Claire's brushing her hair
in the inn window.
The inn, yeah. Looking at her through the window.
And it's interesting because this person's dressed in what looks like full cultural garb, like kilt. I don't know if they call that a beret. If there's another word for it, the hat that he has on.
That's what I would go for.
And yeah, well, that man that was looking up the window just disappeared, which.
So that's the thing. When you watch this episode, when I first saw it, I completely forgot about it. Forgot about it. And then maybe also it's because I binged it, if this was, because it's originally on Stars before it went on Netflix.
Right.
But I was watching it seasons after it came, like many seasons were out, and I was watching it on Netflix, so I'm just going one after the other. So it's definitely a different experience when, back in the day when you would have to wait a week.
Yep.
For an episode.
I did the same thing. I binged it all back to back. It's so much content to keep track of. Like, yes, a little detail like that.
Mm-hmm. But then it's exciting. That's the fun stuff where it trickles back in. And
yes.
You're like,
it's also set up to seem like a transition into a scene, which it is essentially, but it's a very important transition into the scene. So it's one that, if you wanted to check your phone or whatever, that terrible habits that we have, like, I would be doing it during that.
That is such a good point.
Yeah.
People, you looking at your phones, you are going to miss stuff.
I think this whole section was really important to see a different aspect of their relationship. To see that Frank's a little hesitant to kind of share what he's thinking, because he, obviously is wondering who that man is staring up at her, and if there's any kind of connection. And I think it's also interesting to see her be very upset at that accusation.
Yes. To
have her loyalty questioned. And that's something that might be important later on.
Yeah, and he just... Because they are trying to, like she just said, they're trying to reconnect with each other, and then, like, unusual things are happening or whatever, and, like, he's not comfortable with it, he's not settled with it, and then she just flat out asks him, you think I'm being unfaithful?
But if you really listen to like what he's saying and how he's saying it, he's already, like, right now making excuses, or not in a bad way, but like excusing it and saying that he would understand if that were the case.
Yeah.
And I think that dynamic right there is something that's really important to note. And like,
he said he would still love her no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if there was somebody else.
About that?
About affairs?
Yeah.
People being unfaithful or cheating?
Or do you think you would...
Which one? There's a lot of components.
I know. Do you think... And they're back on track.
There we go. Like, that's something I would do. I would have makeup sex, yes.
I mean, yeah. What's the point of fighting if you're not going to make up?
Absolutely, yeah. Also, I do like, though, that they do show a lot of the men's body and not just the women's. I mean, because obviously we see her body a lot.
Yes.
From many different angles.
Yes.
And many different parts, but... yeah, that's just stuff that, like the Tudors used to be a show series, if anybody has seen that, or when you do watch Game of Thrones or whatever, like, shows back then, where I think it was heavier on, like, showing female parts instead of male parts.
Yes.
So...
Well, again, sexualizing women, and it's for the male gaze, not the female
exactly,
gaze.
Yes. But there are a lot of... Also, I think Frank is handsome.
You do?
I do. Do you not? You like it more.
Well, let's not even compare.
Yeah. They're different.
Because I don't think there is a comparison.
Body
but, no, like, just objectively, I mean, I don't think he's ugly, but he doesn't necessarily do anything for me.
I see. I just think he is handsome and a charmer, and I do like his body type, and I like his height, and sometimes he could just be very, suave or comes. I also my opinion of him changes.
Of course,
we see later.
Yeah, which is natural.
Yeah,
as we learn more about characters and things like that.
Which also happens to Claire.
Yes,
her opinion of the men in her life definitely changes.
I will say I think his devotion to her is very attractive. He seems to be, from this first episode, like, very even-keeled, even how he approached the subject of, like, wondering whether or not she ever had any goings-on.
Yeah, just to take it back to your question, just because I know I didn't answer it, and if people do want to know my answer, I am the person where I think trust and honesty is important in a relationship, and if you have an open relationship, then declare that, and at least as long as you talk to your partner. But if I was cheated on, or if somebody had an affair with whatever, and I could not satisfy you in whatever way, whether it's emotionally or physically, be open about it. Just talk to me. You're a grown-ass adult. Don't go behind my back and doing something like that, because that does hurt people. And no, I am a little old-fashioned that way, where I would not be very pleased about it, but then I wouldn't waste much time or energy on you, because it would break my heart for sure if I loved a man and then he did something like that.
It's interesting, when I was younger, I for sure would have been like, absolutely not. As I've gotten a little bit older, I guess I just look at it like, we're all human, and we all have weaknesses, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think it obviously would really depend on the circumstance and the person.
True. I'm saying that now, but I don't know how it actually would
I just think about really, like, if it was someone that I was committed to in that way. I don't know. It gives me pause. Like, I don't feel... there's a touch of knowing that it might depend on the circumstances.
Sure.
But obviously it does change things. I don't think I would have Frank's response to be like, I totally understand, and I'm absolutely fine with it.
I would not be verbal or physical, and want to light that person's shit on fire. I don't think I would go to that extent. But it is just if you are happy with each other and you're good with each other, you don't need to seek anything anywhere else.
Right.
So why are you doing it in the first place?
Oh, of course.
And it wouldn't be, my beef also wouldn't be the person he or she, whatever, cheated with. It would be with my partner.
Of course.
Because if I don't, that's why when people are territorial or threatened or whatever, when, like, their boyfriend's hanging out with different girls just as friends or doing whatever, it's like, then you don't have trust in him.
Right.
Then then you guys need to have a conversation.
Yeah. I thought this whole section was really cool with the Druid dancers.
I love the lighting.
I also think it's interesting that it's something that Frank wanted to go see.
Yes.
Because he seems to be such an intellectual. I mean, I guess it's a little based in history, which is also...
but he's a pragmatic man. He is like, these are the facts, this is blah, blah, blah. And Claire definitely seems to be more tied to spiritual things or something that's more, I don't know. They both are a mix, to be honest, because again, she's doing stuff in science, being a nurse and being a med and like whatever. And like he does stuff with history. There are all like, they both believe and trust facts.
Right.
But then I think they both surprise themselves as things develop. I think also they become more open. That's the fun trajectory of the show.
Yeah.
Is the characters really grow. They become way more open to stuff that they would originally not be tapped into.
Right.
So these rocks or the stones are a legit place in Scotland?
So Craigh, I don't know if that's a real place or that's a made-up place. I know that these specific stones are not real. So I don't know if it's based on a real place of the same name or a different name. But I know that this exact space that they're filming in is actually a set. Like, they go to this location, they bring in those rocks. Sorry to spoil the
no, I got you. I
of
also,
the rocks, but yes, it's definitely.
But you were correct. I was just verifying that
Yeah.
Craigh stones may not be real, but they were put in a real place called Rannoch.
Cool.
Rannoch, which was used as a shooting location for the Outlander show.
Gotcha.
Fascinating.
Yeah, very cool. And I just want to point out that the flowers that she looked at the base of the one rock are called forget-me-nots.
Yes.
In the book, her interest in botanicals, I guess,
botany,
is played up or plays a larger role
in the show.
In this first section.
Oh, I see.
There's a character that she's actually meeting up with while Frank is meeting up with his new boss and new coworkers, because that's what he's supposed to be in town for that. But there's someone that Claire meets up with who knows a lot about botany and is showing her like the herbs and flowers of the area.
Yeah, she is. I think that's a fun thing in the 1940s. Yeah, not a lot of people were experimenting with, or just aren't you, whatever, with holistic methods for medicinal purposes or uses instead of just doing prescription or chemical stuff. Okay, so she is back to the convertible.
First of all, looking like perfection, just saying, stepping out of that car.
Yeah, I love her. I love how she also wore white.
Yes.
Because that immediately gets dirty. So, going back, revisiting the stones, because she wants to go find out those, because she doesn't have Google.
Correct. Yeah, unfortunately, no.
How helpful would Google have been, right?
Yeah,
back
pretty
then,
darn helpful.
But you first need cell towers and servers, which they didn't have.
I think it's interesting. Obviously, we've said before, there's some time flashing that happens. And I think it's interesting to forget when you think about this time that Claire is in is not actually our modern time.
Yes.
And that's, I think, something that comes up later on in the series with certain aspects. You almost forget that even modern for her is not our modern.
Yeah. There also the noise she's hearing, or the buzzing, whirling, whatever that is, she's the only one hearing that, right? That's not actually, it's like, it was specifically attracting her.
Yes, in this scene, yeah.
Oh my god. Just happens, just like that.
So she's describing going through, she's describing what happens when she touches the stones as a car crash that she had once experienced.
Who are the two people in front?
In
the front seat.
My understanding is, I think she says friends when she's explaining what happened. She was driving at night with friends in the back seat.
That sucks. Going through stones, and also that her friends, died in a car accident.
Part?
Okay, but like having to experience a car accident like that when I jump through time, not appealing.
And again, she's saying like the only way she could describe it, or the only thing that she's experienced that she could even almost relate it to, was like.
But that's
a car
just such
crash.
intensity. That's oof. Also, I love which I don't think I really noticed before. Then I rewatched it, that when it's shooting in the 1940s, the saturation is sucked out a little bit, is lower, it's different. The color tones are lighter, and then when she goes back in time, everything's way more vibrant.
Yes.
And I was like, is that because of pollution? I was asking also certain things for, like, the air is obviously different. The vegetation is obviously, you're going way back before it was very populated, before they had industrial factories, buildings, cars.
Yes.
So that affects nature.
I also listen to, not to plug another podcast, but I listen to the official Stars Outlander podcast, which it's the producers that run that. So literally it's producers talking about the show. And sometimes they'll have on the costume designer or some other people. But they talked specifically about wanting to make that distinction and using color and saturation as a way to distinguish between time periods. Also, if you haven't seen the episode and you haven't caught on to what we're saying right now, she's traveled back in time by touching the stones to the same exact location.
What year?
But 200 years prior?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I think it was 200,
Yeah. So from...
Here we go. She sees British soldiers running through. I love how she's just like, is this a cinematic set that I felt on? People doing...
And in the book, that fact is much more intense. So in the book, she is highly confused for much longer than it seems like she is in the show. Which I think the way they do it in the book makes a little more sense. Because I'm like, you're an intelligent person. Not that you automatically think you went back in time, but to play up how traumatic traveling through the stones is to your mind and body.
True.
And how just totally turned around you are.
Yes. Also, how would she know that sounded like real gunshots? Because sometimes duds sound like, well, that's true. I keep forgetting she's in the 1940s because I was just like, I was like, I'm like, prop guns sound very similar.
Well, and again, like, I think she said when you're confronted with the impossible, and then I forget how it finishes, but essentially, like, you go to the nearest thing you know.
Yeah.
Which is...
your brain trying to make sense of it.
it's a movie?
Yeah. Like, and then she just starts running, obviously, because she's running for her life, because she doesn't know... I
just want to point out she's running in clogs, which is quite a feat, honestly.
Very true.
And we see what looks like her husband, Frank, in a redcoat uniform.
But it's actually his...
Great.
Yeah, I was thinking how many greats far back. I love how he stands up though, and she immediately knows. She's just like, you're not Frank, like you're so different, or like obviously that he's...
So this is Jack Black, forever known as Jack Black on this podcast, okay?
Yes. Yes, Jack Black, he doesn't play guitar.
He's not fun at all. This is Jack Randall, or Black Jack Randall.
So here's the thing. She immediately runs from him, and like when he stood up, he didn't seem like a threat. And also, she's British. How I would play it, I'd be like... Oh, you're redcoat. I know from history. Like, you are obviously the colonizers. You're better. Like, I'm one of you. I don't know how I got here. Make up some fucking story.
Yeah, but she also doesn't know what's going on right now. So, she doesn't know what's going on right now. How can she make up a lie if she doesn't know what the circumstances are?
That is true.
Right? Like, it's easier to just try and get out of the situation and get away.
True. But just try to be cool with him.
She also, like...
she spits in his face
like the man has a gun and a sword. Maybe we take a different...
And then here is the almost rape scene.
Attempted rape
of the first one, which was also very interesting how they put this in here, just because the information we find out about Blackjack later. So now she's saved by
Murtaugh.
Yeah.
Murtaugh Fitzgibbons. He's a gem.
He is.
Fan favorite. And by fan favorite, I mean me.
I love him. He's also just everything. Just everything. He can be my protector.
Yes, please. Can we also just talk about, is now a good time to talk about what the smells must have been to go from modern times to waking up next to this man on a horse who clearly has not bathed in
who knows how long,
many
stables
days.
And then being in a room full of other gross and disgusting men
and still having no idea what is going on.
Yes.
His acne in this, it really makes me uncomfortable, like in season 1.
Yeah, no, everything reeks. I just see how everything reeks. Also, even in the 1940s, they didn't have Dove. You know,
right.
They didn't have, like, how clean is it here when you're, like, when she's gonna be doing things physically with other people, I'm just like, that's nasty.
I just want to say, immediately found myself very attracted to this older gentleman with a perfectly shaped beard and mustache.
Him?
Yes. He's got an energy. He's got a vibe.
I didn't like him at first.
Well, we have different types.
No. Beard on point for sure. Like he, I do love also how, tough and dirty and burly and brisk and like manly. How manly all the Scots look. They're so like
big and burly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Very different from the Prince.
Yes.
That were wearing like, have their hair and all like made up or wearing white wigs or doing like the just polished and like how they walk and do. Also very very fun. How they explore, just because I'm describing now like not like there's a category between feminism and masculinity, because again it's a spectrum. What is that? But for some people they're just more burly than others, whatever. I love how they explore sexuality just in the show, just saying in general.
Absolutely.
Not gonna like reveal anything, but that was also another thing I didn't really expect. It's definitely not one note. Like, the show is just...
Correct. And I think it plays a part that it doesn't play in a lot of other media that we consume.
For sure. So this is where she's helpful.
Yes.
And she's like, should I have just shut my mouth or should I have actually done something?
Like, I think it's good to see that she really can't help herself. Especially when it comes to actually helping someone.
Yes.
Like giving them care of some kind.
Yeah, so
she's obviously takes her role very seriously. Like, her job.
And it's her first time meeting Jamie.
Yes.
Is popping his arm back in.
Yeah. Also, I think we just missed the wet nurse joke.
The what joke?
The wet nurse joke.
Oh,
she says,
yes,
I'm a nurse,
yes.
And they look at her boobs, and she's like, not a wet nurse.
Because back then, they would call them healers.
Yes.
So that terminology, again, is different. But then, she just pops them in like that.
My shoulder was dislocated at one point, and it was not a fun time.
Ooh, how did that happen?
So I guess it was partially dislocated. I instinctually popped it back in myself, and then probably should have seen a medical professional and didn't.
Wait.
But
did it hurt? How long did it take you to pop it back in?
So it was like weird nerve pain where like it's numb, but there's pain. It's very hard to describe. I was in college. I was playing volleyball. I went up to hit the ball and then realized my arm was no longer in the air.
Oh my god.
Like, very strange.
Whoa.
Just like super bizarre.
I've never dislocated or broken any bone.
Well, that's good.
So
let's keep it that way.
Yes.
I'll take one for the team on this one.
I love, because from what I know about you, Ashley, and your...
This could go a lot of different directions.
No, I'm just saying, I'm a little surprised that you were just like, I'm going to pop it.
No, it wasn't on purpose. There was no thought. I instinctually, my body just did it. Like, knew to be like, man. What's up? But again, I don't think it was fully dislocated. I think it slipped or something. I don't know.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thanks. So she's still kind of trying to figure out what is going on. And I think this moment where she's like looking for Inverness, and is like, I would definitely see city lights.
Yes.
That is a turning point, specifically in the way that the episode or the show depicts her kind of realizing what's going on.
And Dougal Mackenzie is who we were talking about
before.
Oh, yes. Sorry, we didn't drop his name. Because we have to remember, this is an audio podcast.
Right.
Not everybody can see what we're seeing on screen.
We're learning, folks. This is an exercise.
But yes, Dougal Mackenzie, from the start, was aggressive with her. Like, no patience. Does not trust people. He does not trust people. So that's so funny. If you were Claire, you'd be like, yeah, keep manhandling.
Oh, I would probably do similar to what Claire did, which is like just assert my own dominance to be like,
yeah, so
I know what's up. Like, I get that, like, you're the leader here, and you're like,
let's unpack this.
Oh,
because
shall we? Is there enough time? No, wait. I'm sorry. Let's just talk first.
Yes,
let's talk about being pressed up against this beautiful, redheaded, God on earth looking person.
Blanket with her, and it's raining.
And like,
he's probably so warm.
Also, okay. Here's the thing. I know that the logic behind making them share a horse, Dougal was like, oh, in case he falls, like, keep him on the horse type of deal. But I'm sorry, you're putting this strange woman on the horse with the man who's, like, can't use his one arm.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little convenient for the plot. But
Dougal's like, it's what the script says.
Like, come on.
So you would be like, Mr. Mackenzie, can I ride with you?
Oh, sorry, we're back to the
Dougal, can I ride with you? Yeah, so if you were Claire, right?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Before I saw Jamie, I would want to ride with Dougal. But as soon as I saw Jamie, I'd be like...
So, now, because she was introduced to both of them in the same room, kind of, like the whole clan, like, you know. Would you...
Is this like a bachelor situation? Where, like, if she had to give a... If I were her and I had to give...
Would you have done it with Dougal? Yes.
Yeah, who would I give my sling to?
Who would you give your sling to? Yes.
Jamie, obviously. Okay. You know.
Would you, if he lied, if he was married or had somebody, would you just do it?
Oh, we're that's a question for spoilers, Rena.
Oh, I wasn't revealing anything because right now he's not like he isn't like she.
Right, but she doesn't necessarily know that right now. There was no conversation about. I don't think it's really a spoiler. I'm just saying.
I just assumed also when I first started watching this. Ooh, fun thing, just changing course.
Yes.
It is very, very, of course, another lucky thing for her that she has medical experience and can help and be of service, and also that Frank was a historian.
Yes.
So on their tour, he was telling her about what was the mountain? What is this? Something that has a name where the British soldiers would hide. Oh,
Cockman Rock.
Yes.
Cockman
on Rock, where they the English would hide a great place for an ambush.
Yeah.
So then she gives that information to.
So it's
Jamie.
like the one time she was paying attention to Frank.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I accidentally listened to my husband one time, and he said that there's some ambushes.
It's like when you pay attention in class for the pop quiz, and you're just like, oh, I know this one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so they, but they do believe her. They trust her, right? They take her up on...
I think they are obvious. I think they're like, listen, better safe than sorry type of deal. Right. And what do they have to lose to, like, prepare for an ambush and believe that that's what it is?
For sure. Also, again, because they have so many questions whirling around in their head. Where did she come from? They know she's British, so she's obviously...
Yeah,
they immediately pick that she's not on our side. Yeah, exactly.
Distrust?
Distrust, yes. You can also miss it.
Yeah, but miss is like...
Oh, I
wrong.
Yeah.
Dis is like non-existent.
Who dis?
Okay, missing. Yes. Yeah. New phone, who dis? Hey, that's you.
Also the fighting. There is a lot of great fighting sequences in this show.
Yes.
I love how she's just like, bye, and she just runs.
Well, because like she doesn't know what's going on, and she doesn't know if she can trust them. She probably just is like, I need to just get away and like figure out what is going on and what my next moves are.
I think this is my flaw because Jamie's so attractive. I would trust him because I'm like, you're physically
totally.
That's a problem.
Well, but I think that is a basis of kind of how things progress with their characters.
Yo, exactly. Like if Jamie was ugly, I mean, everyone's beautiful.
I don't know.
But if he didn't look like that,
that's interesting. I almost wonder if I would be less likely to trust someone if they're like terribly attractive. I'd be like, I don't trust you.
Yeah. He is very nice.
Wait, look, no hands getting off that horse.
His arm's already out of the sling.
I mean, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't know that I liked men covered in blood until seeing James Fraser.
Yeah, and his hair is just wet and tousled, and he's just so. Also, he's wearing a kilt. Yeah, like, can we? He's got air and room down there for the boys, and like he is. This was just my dream. Like, I would have been like, yes, please throw me over your shoulder. Actually, you'd be like, no, don't. But
wait, oh my god, you want me to do that? Yes, absolutely, I do. Look at that face.
Oh, look, that's a moment. Her with his eyes.
That is a moment. I'm sorry for yelling. Anyone who's listening with AirPods.
It's exciting.
Or headphones.
It's exciting. Then lower the volume, people. This is the kind of show it's
getting hot in here.
It is.
I'm getting excited. Also, here's another thing. Like, when was the last time she was on a horse? Like, that has to be very uncomfortable.
Very good question.
She's wearing a dress. She's on a horse with probably not, obviously, like, modern saddles.
Yo, your inner thighs, because when I first rode a horse after never riding one before, and you're training and you're doing your back, lower back, and your inner thighs hurt. They are sore.
I'm also wondering if there's, like,
look at
muscle soreness. I can't help but look at Jamie's thighs. Okay, that's, like, a recurring thing throughout this season.
I think that is why he is more muscular. I mean, for many different reasons, but I'm just thinking about realistically.
You're doing, like, your daily activities include
more labor.
Hand-to-hand combat, horse riding.
Chickens. Taking over a farm.
just chickens. Horse riding, hand-to-hand combat, chickens. Yeah, chickens.
I'm just thinking about
the
British are just not like, Frank doesn't have that. He's a historian. He goes to an office. Like, he doesn't.
Yeah, no.
You were saying
his muscle tone is not there. He's lean. He's lean.
Also, I would be starving.
I think did she just have the whiskey? Was that
she didn't eat shit?
No, but I think that's
she did drink. Yeah, she drank a little.
He's
that's
like, it'll fill your belly, and it's like,
no, that's gonna give me the. Thank goodness.
And there he goes.
He passed out. Jamie passed out.
Jamie fell off the horse.
But yeah, they riding.
Nobody cares.
They're riding through the night for like 2 days in a row.
Yeah, and who knows how long they were riding before that too.
Yeah, there's no rest stop.
So she's like nursing him in the dark.
Oh, he had a gunshot wound.
Yeah, and he said he was not shot. Because she was like, you okay? Because you're covered in blood. And he's like, yeah, it's someone else's blood, not mine.
Oh my god. I believed him.
So now she's like, you're a liar. She's very upset.
Oh my god. This is their first fight.
Germs, they don't know what germs.
That's so funny. Yeah, she starts listing iodine.
Okay. And then the second thing she listed, I've never even heard of it. Methylate?
Methylate, yeah.
Never heard of it. I was a
Alcohol,
straight A student.
And you're like, ooh.
Never heard of it. That was not in my chemistry class.
Yeah. That's a thing. Because that's a dead giveaway for if you're saying stuff from the future.
Yes.
Because
they don't know it's from the future, but if you're saying things they've never heard of.
Exactly. I'm saying, like, Claire knows, oh my god, this stuff hasn't been invented yet. It's from my future, my time period. But it's a dead giveaway for them that, that's the other thing.
Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ, that's the first of many.
No, she said it before when she was brushing her hair.
Yes, because her hair is so wild and untamed.
Oh my gosh.
And unkempt.
Yeah. I feel like, who is that? Yeah. Oh man, I'm exhausted just watching all of their.
I like that she has a mouth on her.
Yeah.
She's not afraid of cursing. All the men are like, what?
Also, yeah,
Why?
they're used to being the dominant ones.
Yeah.
So she challenges their authority.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I feel like they like it, and other times it's not the day for it.
Well, and also challenges authority in almost like an ignorant way. Like another woman of the time challenging authority would know that they're challenging authority. Like she is just doing what she would normally do.
Yeah.
And so like kind of forgets until their response.
Yeah.
That the way she's acting is not necessarily
But
normal.
again, if she did keep quiet and like wasn't vocal about certain things, maybe she wouldn't have been safe as much, or maybe her survival wouldn't have been like, obviously to get her this far she's done something, because who knows.
Well, I think she is very obviously intelligent. Like I think that's something that stands out to all the characters she meets. So I think there's an element of them value, and also like feeling like she's being authentic or genuine, and that she really does, because there's conviction behind what she says.
Yes.
Feeling like there's something to what she's saying.
Yes.
Now, is it something you should trust, or like what are her intentions? I think they don't know what her intentions are.
But they had to believe her, right? Because I couldn't bullshit how to pop a shoulder back in. I can pretend to be a nurse. So sure, actually, like, she knows something about that because she proved it.
Yeah.
You know, that's not just...
Also, Jamie talked a little bit more about Blackjack Randall and the fact that he would rather basically shoot himself than be left to be found by Jack Black.
Yeah, he has a history with him.
Yes.
Which
we'll find out
more of. But obviously with him just mentioning him means, okay, we already know you guys have a past already. And I love how he calls him Sassanech. Like already, and he's just in his
They
tone.
already have a nickname. Like cute little nickname.
Which also, as you know in the beginning of the episode, means Englishman or Outlander.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. And now it's the next day. Riding them horses. Yeah, look how dirty they look. Oh, here we go!
Now, again, she's seeing this castle that she had just seen 2 days ago in ruins.
Yep. And she's like, how can I remember?
Be a very bizarre.
Yeah, for sure.
Experience. I think like this is the moment where she really realizes she is somehow time traveled.
Yeah, I think it was really grounded into her at this point. It was a pivotal point because now she just is introduced to so many other people, and now you're seeing like, this is how the world works. This is the culture. These are the people.
Yeah. And also, like, I was here 2 days ago and that castle didn't look like that. Like, that's, like, real concrete evidence, rather than these men don't know what germs are.
Yes.
And everything's by candlelight. Like, those things could just be a coincidence, I guess, or explained in other ways.
Yeah, but how
to see a physical structure that 2 days ago was not a functioning castle either, with, like, the things around it that make it a castle.
That's so true, because this has liveliness. Like, people are here. This is living, breathing. Like, I would be shook. Like, I would be. That's a jarring sight for sure.
Welcome to the scoring section.
Yeah.
So
rank it. Let's go.
At the end of each podcast episode, we'll be scoring the Outlander episode on a set of specific criteria to assemble our definitive ranking of Outlander episodes. The criteria we're using is as follows: steaminess, plot, feminine power,
yes,
costume/set, and this is great. Wow. and cringe factor.
Ugh.
Good one. That was a good one.
Okay. It's most important.
So, Rena, would you like to share your score for steaminess?
Yes, I'm very excited. By steaminess, we mean sex.
Yes, good one. Sometimes romance.
Yes,
I do believe
true.
romance can be steamy as well.
I absolutely agree with that.
But, I mean, yeah,
I
primarily
agree.
sex.
It could definitely be whatever intimate moment. It doesn't have to be physical or sexual, but in this show it really is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it, mine's low. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, can I explain why? Or
Yes,
do we want
I'm so sorry, yes.
No,
please
no,
do.
it's fine. Just saying because I think there was, right, it's just Randall, and why did I call him Randall? What's his name?
Frank.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm calling him by his last name.
Yeah.
Frank and Claire did it at the inn in bed, and then he pleasured her and went down on her.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
in a dirty castle.
that's true. That's what
I just want to point out.
Yeah, right.
You gotta get specific. Okay.
Which, if it were me, I would not do that because that's so not clean.
Spiders
So not
is
clean.
what freaks me out in that scenario.
A spider can go up your vagina.
I'm very nervous about that. But yes, okay.
So yeah, I just don't think there was a lot of that in this episode. But again, it was episode 1. We're just starting out.
True. I mean, they can't,
Just a taste.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, they could have.
Who's gonna buy the cow and you can get the milk for free? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm vegan.
Like,
so.
they go, okay. Who's gonna buy the almond when they can get the milk for free? Okay.
Your turn.
So I gave it a 3.
Okay.
And I think what's going to surprise you is that I gave it a 3 solely based on the part where Jamie threatens to pick her up and throw him over her shoulder.
Okay.
To be quite honest with you, I completely forgot about all of the sex between Frank and Claire. So you can see where
you just
my loyalty lies.
You want to be thrown over someone's shoulder.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I think for me, the steaminess too is the tension, the sexual tension. But I'm so glad that you reminded me of the Frank and Claire sex scenes because that should count.
But you do
towards-
like being manhandled.
I do. I feel like you want to make it really clear that you are aware of that about me, and I want you to know that I appreciate that you recognize that.
Yeah. Okay.
In me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plot.
Yeah.
So
So
what
okay.
about plot? What'd you do for plot?
So for plot, I was a little surprised by my answer. I actually gave it a 5.
Oh.
Yeah, and the reason I'm surprised about the answer is because I tried to watch this episode multiple times without getting all the way through it. It was years apart. So when I wrote down the number 5, I said, interesting for an episode you struggled with for a while. But I feel with the plot was the driving force behind this episode. It was a lot of setting up the story, introducing relationships and characters. So I think that was really the highlight of the episode. So 5 for me.
All your reasoning is why I gave it a 4.
Okay, perfect.
Same thing because it's just setting. You were introduced to the world, the concept, the everything that she's about to get into.
Right.
So it's a pretty heavy, it's a big responsibility to put a lot in there for episode 1.
I think too that they did a great job at kind of parsing out the information. So they gave me just enough so that I didn't feel frustrated.
Or not
because
bored.
I was confused.
Okay. You weren't overwhelmed.
Right, and I wasn't bored because it was too obvious.
Yes.
So I feel like they towed that line really well.
Yeah, well, because at the beginning of the episode, it kind of was boring for me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I did fast forward. I fast forwarded. Yeah, I did it. Said it, did it. Okay.
Feminine power, what do you got?
I did a 4.
Yeah.
Because Claire already, we know there's gonna be a lot of talk about her attitude throughout the show, but she was very assertive. And also, this is the episode where I think she's alone the most, right? Went in, when she traveled, she was, through the rocks, she was by herself.
Right.
Also, it was the first wake-up call of, like, who are these men? What's going on? Where am I? This is not a production of a film set.
Although she really tried to make that theory work for a long time.
She did.
And she finally realized.
Not working, honey. Yeah. Just let it go. They're real bullets. Let it go. Yeah, so I ranked it a 4 because I think she was just very strong, handling a lot. There was just a lot thrown at her in the very beginning, and also immediately proving her significance with her medical background.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was very powerful.
Good. Same thinking. I scored it a little bit lower. I gave it a 3. I think, in my mind, I felt like she was more so holding her own and, like, managing. I didn't feel like she was necessarily, like, a driving force.
That's fair.
But she also was, like, by herself as well. So yeah, similar. I gave it a 3. Also, I realized we did not share with our listeners that we're scoring them from 1 through 5. Except our last category, which will be -1 to -5. So we'll be subtracting points. So I just wanted to point that out.
So what about costume and set for you?
So I gave it a 3. I felt like, I enjoyed the 2 different time periods. I thought they did a magnificent job with that. I wouldn't say that it's not like there was a costume piece that I was, like, crazy over.
Okay.
Yeah, but a solid 3. I felt like a 3 was, like, great job.
Okay.
Good on you.
Okay.
Just didn't blow me away. What did you get?
Well, I did a 5.
Yeah.
Just because it is the show that it did multiple time periods. Also, I love the 40s, love the vintage, love the look, like just how they did her hair, and then also, like, such a strong contrast between that and then doing Scottish garb, and then you have a bunch of men in kilts, so I was like, hello.
Yeah.
And then you have the castle, just the sets, like, again, just seeing anything where the bulk took place in Scotland, I was just like, this is just gorgeous. I'm just really, even if, the beginning was a bit slow for me to get, it was very visually and aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. So that's my ranking.
And our final category, cringe factor.
Yeah.
Ooh. What did you score?
-2.
Oh.
I gave it a -2.
Okay.
The main thing was I forgot to also mention, this was in plot, which is why I did 4 for that, but this is also cringe where Frank, it revealed at the end, this was their biggest, twist in that episode, when it's revealed that Frank is not Jack Black, Blackjack.
Right. No! He's Jack Black!
And then having, very smart and clever, using the actors, the same thing, whatever, and then her just that moment when they see each other, and, like, come whatever, and it just goes immediate, because he, your man's is your safety, is your home. I cannot imagine Jordan being, like, then a soldier in the past, and then him gonna rape me, and him doing, like, and so I'm like, oh, like, whoa!
Right.
Cool it! Like,
cool it! That would be your reaction. I just want to be really clear that your reaction would be, cool it!
Yeah, and then I would, like, react to scream like Julia Child, like, oh, no! Please stop! When he's trying to get a handle on me. Yeah. That's my answer. It wasn't too extreme in this episode for me, the cringe factor, but it was just the tip. It was just, that sounds
I'm
so
not touching
wrong.
it. I'm not.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm not
I didn't
touching it.
say it.
That is cringe factor 5.
That is cringe. 5 on me. I'm sorry.
I gave a -1. You made a great point. I believe in not changing the scores, so I'm not going to adjust my scores, although I didn't think about the Blackjack Frank reveal.
I mean, imagine your partner.
No, you're right.
You know?
You're right. So I gave a -1 for the, like, close encounter with rape with Jack, Randall, Blackjack. I was like,
that was
whoop.
not fun.
That was about the only thing that I could think of that was cringeworthy. So looking at our scores, we both ended up with 13. Two very different ways to get there. So this episode scores a 26. Again, once we are done going through the episodes, or at some point, we'll start releasing some rankings of episodes.
Ooh, yes.
So that'll be exciting. Feel free to play along and make your own list at home.
Please do.
But thank you so much for joining us.